I'm Richard K. Williams, and my company designs, manufactures, and sells power management semiconductors globally. Power management semiconductor devices are used in virtually every kind of product, ranging from cell phones and handsets to handheld devices and other consumer devices, including media players, e-dictionaries, GPS, and so on. So those are all examples of applications of power management where we're controlling the energy flow from a battery or an AC source into what it's being used for. Okay, and prior to starting this company, I worked at another company that did power semiconductor devices, and that's starting in the early 80s. At that time, much of the power electronics, power management was actually implemented using discrete transistors or low level of integrated ICs. But I envisioned that the market would shift and that the need for lower cost, smaller size, more efficient and greater number of features in a power management circuit would mandate that these products needed to have a higher level of integration. So with that in mind, I created technology and a product roadmap that eliminated many of the discrete transistors and many of the old legacy low technology power management products and replaced them with much more compact, higher efficient, smaller size, high technology versions of those products. It started out with writing a business plan, and after preparing a business plan, I then had to crystallize the vision of what would be the strategic direction and the sustainable competitive advantage. So the first piece, the cornerstone of the company, was the idea that I could develop power management semiconductor devices in very high-tech fabs. So I actually then created this concept of DRAM fab reuse, so that instead of making commodity products and making very little money in those old legacy DRAM fabs, I created my own technology, imported our technology into those DRAM fabs, and then designed products on our own technology, which gave us the ability to do things that had never been done before and to make chips much smaller than anyone had ever imagined. So then to get funding, once I had that concept, I went to one of the DRAM fabs and I proposed the concept with them, and they liked it. So they became my first investor. And then we started doing our first product developments and technology developments in their fab. With that, then I raised just the amount of money I needed to get the products launched, and later on, then I raised more money to expand the size of the company to a greater size. The third round, I raised $23 million. This is actually after I'd already launched the products and had revenue. So then I could command a much higher selling price for the shares and not give away ownership of the company by raising that money. The greatest challenge of almost any startup is trying to develop their product and get to the market in the least amount of money, and to not raise significant amount of money until you do your product launch. And as you get closer to the date of bankruptcy, the amount that they will pay is actually going up, and the amount that we'll sell it for is going down. And just at the point where you're almost ready to go out of business, the true value of the stock finally is manifest, and then the deal gets done and you get funded. Okay, so to obtain and sustain a competitive advantage, you have to have the right technology to manufacture the right product, and then you have to know what the right product is to make. Now, having the definition of those products has to be done by analyzing market trends. And if you don't anticipate market trends, then you can miss it entirely. So the way we do that is we pick our markets, and then once we've picked our markets, we do market surveys. And the way we do the surveys is we don't just listen to the customers, because if you just ask a customer what he wants, he'll always tell you he wants a lower cost version of what he's buying now. But the reality is that the new generation products have to have features and functions that are beyond what he is buying now. And they can't exactly articulate what it is they want. So the best way is to go through a series of customers or potential customers that are leaders in that particular market space and talk to all of them, find out what are the common elements that they all need, then come back and make up your own product definition, and then go write up a data sheet and then go propose that to those major customers. And at that point, then once one or two of the big guys endorses your product, then everybody will follow, and you will be in a leadership position because you are essentially defining and setting the industry standards. And anybody who wants to come along behind is going to take a minimum of 1 to 2 years to catch up. So for any young and ambitious entrepreneurs, I think it's very important that firstly, you get a vision of what it is that you're going to try to make, what service or product you're going to offer, and how you can not follow the other companies, but do something unique and different to have a competitive advantage. And then back it up with intellectual property and patents so that you have some IP position that could potentially turn that competitive advantage into a sustainable competitive advantage. The next thing I would say is to anticipate the liquidity event of how you're ultimately going to pay back the investors at the very onset. One last item to consider as an entrepreneur is one of the most important things, and that is control of the company. So as an entrepreneur, try to find a way to retain as much control as possible, and do not believe that your interests and the interests of the investors and venture capitalists are aligned.